No country right now has a classification system for primals. That was the uniqueness of this project. 70% of Canadian pork goes abroad. For us, it would create a benefit to be able to talk to the international buyers and offer this way of classifying bellies or hams. That, combined with the already good reputation of Canada Pork internationally, could increase our market share or at least protect the market share that we have right now. So a few years ago, Canada Pork came up with the idea of classifying pork primals individually. The grading in pork is focused mainly on lean meat yield, so how much meat there is in the carcass, and the weight of the carcass after slaughter. There is no correlation between the quality of the different primals. So you can have a loin that is high quality, great color, lean, marbling, firmness, and the belly of that carcass can be terrible. And sometimes it actually happens that way because when you have a very lean carcass with a pork chop with a much back fat, then the belly is too lean and it's soft. So I think in pork we are going to need to look at individual primals, while in beef very often you can grade on the carcass as a whole. From the moment that we applied for the project, SIP contacted us, came up with feedback, allowed us to have meetings with their scientific committee and with different people in the organization, giving us advice about what to modify in the project to match the industry requirements. So we created a monthly meeting with what we could call our advisory committee. So we met monthly with them, we asked questions about how we should develop the project, and we also provided updates. So with that, we came up with the priorities for each primal. In the loin, the first one was color, things like water holding capacity and firmness. We also look at marbling, although marbling is not as essential in pork as is in beef. On the belly firmness was the main one in terms of quality, but that is related also to dimensional factors. How long, how deep the belly is, the width, the thickness of the belly, the amount of fat versus lean in that belly. All that is going to influence belly firmness. On the hams and the shoulders, it was mainly the fat to lean ratio and the fat thickness, especially on the back fat area. You want to make dry cure ham, for example, you need enough fat in the ham, but you're going to produce ham more like we do in North America, you want very little fat. The interesting thing was we engaged several large companies in the pork side to work on this idea. We realized that creating a classification system nationally was going to be very hard. The companies in Canada are so good and so competitive that really very often the main competition for them is another Canadian company. So they want to have their own system. So we started working on methods and technologies that each company could use and choose how to classify their primals based on their requests from their buyers. So it passed from this idea of a national classification or grading system to developing different technologies that could be applied for individual packers. So the first thing that we did with pork loins was looking at what was being done today. Color is king. How is that being done? So the Japanese standards were the gold standards for the industry, and they work quite well with fluorescent lights, like the ones that we have here. But most plants are passing to LED lights. So the Japanese standards don't work very well. So we developed new standards based on Canadian standards that were published about 10 years ago, but specific for LED lights, fluorescent lights, or even image analysis. So we have 3 different types. We also came up with different formats for those standards. So usually those come in a ruler, or the Japanese standards come in gels. We came up with an idea of creating a fan that was easier to carry in a pocket, that has all the different colors, and you can look at the meat and compare. We also came up with the idea of stickers that they can put on the sleeve as they are cutting, and then they can use that as a threshold to classifying pork. Then we wanted to also look at objective evaluation of pork color. So we found colorimeters that are low cost, being used actually for renovating your house, to find the paint, which are very cheap. We are talking from $20,000 in the Minolta to a few $100 for these new devices, and they work quite well. And the next step is image analysis of the whole loin the ends, the ventral side, and the center chop, because the center chop is the standard, but we don't have access to it in the plant. And so we came out with all these ways of automatically collecting an image and evaluating the whole surface and coming up with a score that relates to the center chop. On the belly side, firmness is the most important quality trait. So how is firmness evaluated in the plant? You have somebody touching the belly, bending it, they are deciding if it's good for this market or this other market. So we wanted to create something more objective. So we created standards for 5 different traits measured on the belly subjectively. So you can train people based on that standard. From there, we came up with ideas also for different instruments that could be used to do that objectively. The standard method scientifically is to set the belly on a bar and wait for 2 minutes and then measure how much it has bent with angles and with distances. That's not very efficient in a plant. So we created some sort of a conveyor belt. First, a handheld one, something that you could do manually to evaluate for research. It correlates very, very well to the standard method of the bar bend, but also to the subjective evaluation. And then from there, we came even with another option for the packers where you could set up different conveyor belts at different distances and angles, and it could automatically classify the bellies based on firmness. So a belly that is very firm would be picked up by the conveyor belt, while one that is soft and bent could be picked up by a second conveyor belt, or it could just fall into a bucket. So that is something that plants could implement very easily. We know that one of the most important traits for belly firmness, but also for other attributes in the carcass, is fat quality. Looking at fat composition requires chemical analysis. It's very complex. So there is some technology out there to do it automatically, but it's quite pricey. So we had the same approach that we did with color, and we found a handheld device by a Canadian company that can do the same measurement using near-infrared spectroscopy. And it connects to your phone or a tablet, and it works quite well. And we work with the companies to adopt that in different plants. We did some surveys with the packers. They really require different qualities. You cannot say this is the best pork quality and this is what everybody wants. No, you are going to have different buyers asking for more fat, less fat, lighter color, or darker color. They have buyers for all those different qualities. So if we could standardize everything and say, oh, this is high quality, it wouldn't work for the packers because they still have buyers requiring something different. So there are many moving pieces, and that's why research is important, because it can give you ideas about how to do this. You can do genetic selection, have 2 lines. You can have a line for high quality belly and hams, and then you can have another line that is more lean. Now the packers can have this edge where they have technologies and they have approaches that no other country in the world can offer at this point. Classifying the pork that is going to be sent especially to a premium buyer internationally or domestically as well.